One. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. My name is Peter Llewellyn. I run the services at medcommsnetworking.com, where you'll find information services, events, activities, and so on for people who work in and around the global medical communications, medical education, medical publishing type businesses and associated businesses. And one of the things we've done is we've set up a whole resource at firstmedcommsjob.com, where you can find information specifically for people who want to learn more about medcoms and find out about the job opportunities and so on. What we're doing here is we're answering some of the questions, the sort of frequently asked questions from job seekers, and we're going to have a little conversation around a question here. I'm delighted that Alex and Jade and Lauren can join us from Helios Global Group to give their perspective on this question. And the question, guys, is what types of projects could I be working on when I start? And Alex, you volunteered to kick that one off.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, so there's a bit of background. I joined as an SPCO, which is a bit of a split role at Helios. So it's medical writing and project coordination. It's an entry-level role. I would say it's more project management heavy when you start. And I would say that for anyone in any role, and I'm sure Jade and Lauren will attest to this later on, that you learn on the job. Training is absolutely offered, and I would say, and I think every company is the same, that you will get formal training, but you don't get training before you start, and then you actually get released into the world of medcoms. You'll be involved in the projects very early on. It might not be that you take a really hands-on role with the clients. You'll probably be back a little bit while you're learning. It is a very steep learning curve, but you will get there, and you learn quickly because you're on the job. You come as part of the team, but you are obviously recognised that you are entry level. No one will put you in the deep end and make you do something that you're uncomfortable with. I think I probably would assume any company would say the same. So for me, because I had a split role, I had a project management side that involved a lot of like tracking things, status sheets, taking minutes, and I think that's important on both sides, taking accurate minutes, because that will also reflect report writing in the future. And also logistics. Hopefully we'll get more of that in the future as well. And then the writing for an entry side on what I was doing, it's more like data checking, and maybe as you get more confident you would write reports and things like that. And it's really important when you are starting we obviously have a thick skin, but it's not necessarily that you're going to be attacked, but you will get feedback. Whatever level you are in at MedComms, we've previously spoke recently to Simon, who's been there for 20 years. He will still get feedback. The point is in MedComms that everyone's reviewing each other's work and making it the best it can be. And we would always say, when you are starting, don't let that phase you. Take it on. Everyone's here to help each other. And yeah, just be aware that it's positive feedback so you can improve. Yeah, and I think Lauren, probably you're quite new. You started in January, so you might have a good idea of the actual projects and maybe a bit more detail on that.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So I started in January, as you said, as an associate medical writer, and I was completely new to MedComms, again, an entry-level role. And since I started, I've worked on a huge variety of different projects and worked within different project teams as well. So that's included things like working on manuscripts, working on developing content for infographics, developing training modules, working on show files that might be for expert presentations, but also for things like advisory boards, also attending the meetings themselves, and then taking minutes or taking notes to then write a report of the key points of discussion. So it's been really varied. And as Alex also said, you're not thrown in at the deep end and left on your own. So although within the first 2 weeks of starting, I was on project work, it was very much on the job training. And it's great because you can learn from your colleagues and you're guided throughout the whole process, which is really helpful as well. So more senior members of staff do review your work. And as Alex said, with the feedback, sometimes it can be quite extensive, but it's really useful feedback, and it's good to take on to the next time you work on a publication or meeting, but also taking it forward to every project, because there's always something to learn. So that's been really helpful. I think also for me, starting completely new to MedComms, and also for entry-level positions, there's a lot of training as well in the first month in particular. And it's great because you can really learn, but also you have a lot of time to get up to speed with what the role involves, and also get an idea of the the background of the projects and the types of work that you'll be doing. So it's important to understand the therapy area and why it's important. So that was really helpful. And Jade, I think we'll talk a bit more about the more senior role.
So I'm a senior medical writer at Helios, and I think I've been in MedComms for about 4.5 years now. And I do work really closely with Lauren on lots of different projects. And I think one of the important things to flag is that when you do start as an associate writer in MedComms, I would encourage like the junior writers to take ownership of their projects. Just like 100%, that's their project, and the experienced sort of members of the team are able to support the junior writers with the delivery of that project. And I think building on what Alex said as well, there is a lot to learn in MedComms. There really is, but you sort of have to think of it as a team effort, and we're all sort of pitching in to make the piece of work that we deliver for our clients the best it possibly can be. And as you do get more experienced, and there are so many different projects that you can work on, like every day is different, but then you are able to sort of provide that mentorship to more junior writers, and you can identify training needs and get involved in training them as well. And that's a really good like aspect of the job. But also, as you get more familiar with the therapy areas that you work on, you definitely build this partnership with your clients. It's definitely not like you're delivering a service for them. We are their partners, and you can support them in like the strategic planning of all of the the activities that they want to do moving forward. You're able to reflect their strategic objectives in the work that you do for them, and that then they really do see us as partners, and that's a really nice part of the job. Yeah.
Okay, can I just pin you down a little bit, and I'm going to throw some things at you, see how you come back at me. So because what are the specific sorts of projects? Let's not go too far into this, okay? But if someone's watching this, I think what you've all said makes lots of sense, but what do you actually mean? And Lauren, for instance, you mentioned advisory board meetings. So can you just say a few words that just sort of paints a picture of what an advisory board meeting is?
Yeah, so they do vary a bit, but from my experience and the ones that I've worked on, it could be looking at trying to hone in on some key areas of what the pharmaceutical company is looking to move forward to in their next strategy. So it could be more from a strategic point of view. It also could be to learn a bit more about the therapy area. So it's really getting the main points from the experts in that key field of that therapy area to understand what's important to move forward with.
Okay, so I'm trying to sort of tease this out a little bit. So you're getting a group of experts, probably from around the world, together around a table. Let's use that sort of visualization to talk about the drug or the medicine that the company is developing. You're getting their expert input into it, and the role of the MedComms agency is to manage that, to put the event together. It might be virtual now, or it might have been in Madrid or Paris, 18 months ago, sort of thing. So you're putting people together, there's a number of tasks involved in that, in terms of working with the various people involved in it. So communication, blah, blah, blah. There's a certain amount of written type material in terms of instructions, invites, and so on. A certain amount of organizational type activity. And would it be fair to say an advisory meeting, typically you'd probably be asked to produce some sort of a summary report, maybe a PowerPoint presentation type report or something like that. Again, let's not get too bogged down, but am I making some sensible comments there about the sort of shape of an advisory board meeting?
Yeah, that's right. I think Alex might be best to comment more from the setting up.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you're right. And I think most MedComms agencies do both. They do the project side. So as you said, getting the people in the room, be it virtual or face to face, but getting the actual people there. But then the slide development, when you're there, there's usually presentations that the pharmaceutical company would like to deliver, so that'll be prepared first. Usually lots of reviewing and compliance involved in that to make sure that it's not too promotional, I would say. And then there's also some backhand, behind the scenes things. We might have discussion guides for the clients so they know what to ask the advisors, again in a compliant manner, and to make sure that they've really got the objectives nailed down and got the right right questions asked. And that's, you know, something you're doing behind the scenes. Also things, even more simple things, that just having the agenda on a piece of paper and in a nice way for the people to look at. These all go into it, and they do all take a good amount of time and being secure in it being right. And then when you actually get there, yes, again, face-to-face or virtual, there'll be a medical writer there that would typically write the report. So that feedback that you get, assimilating that information, and sometimes they can go into very strayed discussions, and you need to be able to get that information together for a report for the client, which will then be delivered usually like 1 week or 2 weeks later. Sometimes it's an executive summary first and then a full report later. Apologies.
That's right.
No problem. So that is all involved. There's a lot of things that actually you wouldn't think are involved in project management and medical writing. I mean, in the first week I was there, I remember there was a very intense discussion about the right level of biscuits on the project side, because there's compliance levels, and then there's also just the tiny things at the right level of words that you use. But yeah, there's absolutely, and that's just an advisory board. You know, you can think about a congress, there's the slides that they present, all of that. Again, all the logistics as well. Webinars, again, it's slightly the same, but slightly different. Oftentimes you are doing slide development. I think we'd often focus on meeting heavy projects, but you know, there's the publication side as well. You might be writing abstracts, posters. Yeah, there's all sorts. It's endless. Patient materials. Yeah.
Exactly. I just wanted to get a little bit more out of the sort of the actual things that you're actually doing, and as you say, event-wise, advisory board meeting. You described it very well. You know, you can take the same principles and go, well, it could be 1,000 people at a congress or something, so people can grasp that. On the publication side, you know, you're working with, you know, and most of the time on the publication side, you're providing writing and editorial type support. So one of the questions is always around, are you an author or not? And mostly you're not an author as a medical writer, you might be a contributor or whatever. But that's a very different sort of project that you'd be working on, and you'd be liaising with the authors and supporting and understanding the regulations and the GPP type regulations and so on, to guide how those publications are done, and the journal requirements and things like that. So that's a very different sort of setup situation. Digital type stuff, I'm guessing you're involved in some sort of quite interesting digital projects, training. Let's take it like educational training type programs. Do you do much for like, you know, MSL types or the reps, or like internal training? I think that's often overlooked, because quite a lot of the MedComms agencies do at least some work for internal training and support of people. So again, I don't want to go too far with this, but you're nodding, and is that the sort of thing you're doing?
Yeah, we've definitely been involved in, you know, internal meetings, training, kind of internal strategy meetings, getting those people in together, even pre-congress, getting the clients often like to meet together, get all their team before a congress, make sure everyone's on the same page. That all involvement. Digital, yes, as you said, videos.
Animations, worked on animations, which is something like completely different, really exciting to see that come together. But also from like the training side of things, you know, you'll develop slide decks that the MSLs, the medical science liaisons, they'll use them to train. Well, the client will use them with their MSLs to train them up, so then they can go out into the field and, you know, speak to their the doctors that they have really close relationships with about the therapy area. So there is so much that you can work on.
Okay. Again, we could go in a number of directions there and spend a lot of time talking about individual projects. So I guess the basic message is, you know, the question was, what types of projects could I be working on when I start? The answer is lots and lots of sorts of different sorts of projects. You're not kept in a cupboard for the first year and not allowed out, sort of thing. It'll vary a little bit, and different companies have different training approaches and so on. But you know, getting hands-on client type work early on is the norm. But again, an important point is you're very much supported. It's a team. You're not just, you don't just come in and someone says, right, go write that paper or something. You know, there's a lot of support, a lot of training, a lot of development. But from more or less day one, you're gonna be made to do some useful work, sort of thing. Yeah. And as I say, that can be all sorts of different sorts of projects. So it's nice just to touch on those different sorts of project types. So thank you very much for that. Okay, so look, I think again that's been a useful, insightful little chat there. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to Alex and Jade and Lauren. I know I'm speaking on behalf of you, but you're all happy for someone, for people to reach out via LinkedIn. That's the easy way of doing it. Please, if anybody wants to talk to me, you're welcome to, or go to firstmedcommsjob.com, where you'll find lots and lots of insights and information about jobs in the medcoms business. So thanks very much, guys. I'm just going to ask you to give a bit of a wave and say goodbye and stay safe. Bye bye.